teacher feature, I would like to welcome Mr. Terry Moore. He has been an educator for 30 plus years. I'm going closer, I think, to 40. Have you now? How many years have you been an educator now, Terry?
I started teaching in 1976, so you can do the math.
Okay, well, it's been, I think we are in the 40s somewhere.
Yeah.
But I know he's unique because of his different roles that he's had as an educator. I do know that he probably saved me from one of the most traumatic episodes in my life, attempting to teach choir when I didn't have the tools in my toolbox. The principal thought that I was able to do that because I could sing, and that just isn't so. I learned in a difficult way that you need a lot more training to be able to take a bunch of students and put them in a room and teach them parts. And on top of that, you've got to be able to accompany them on at least the piano. And there are various parts of music that I had no idea what I was getting into. And Mr. Moore came and he relieved me of this position, and I went back to doing what I knew how to do, and that was teaching English. And I'm forever grateful to him for that. I remember the particular day, and I'll never forget that. But I want to welcome you, and I want to ask you for the first question here. Maybe give us just a little bit of background of where your career started and where you have ended up now. I know you're part-time currently, but why did you become a teacher, music teacher, go into counseling? You went to the district office, and what did that look like?
Well, I guess I attribute my interest in education twofold. My father was an educator, came from a family of educators. I think, are you still with me?
I am.
Okay, it looks like my battery's getting low, but I had a music teacher in junior high school that I adored and loved and fell in love with music through him. And so from the 8th grade on, I knew that that's where I wanted to go, and that was my focus. So through college, I didn't have to play around with any other majors. That's where I wanted to go. So that made college easy for me, which I appreciate.
Well,
It's always easier knowing where you want to go.
Absolutely. And I know you've probably had that experience being a counselor to advise students to help them on where they want to go, help them define what that direction is.
Yeah, that's for sure. And so often we have lots of opportunities, but if we listen to our inner self, I think our core self, and I think if we are honest with ourselves and go back and analyze where we've been, who we are, what we're interested in, I think that gives us a lot of direction. And I don't think we do that enough in today's world. Anyway, so I began teaching at the high school actually that I went to. So and taught there for quite a few years, and then took a couple of years off, and then ended up here in St. George. And about 3 years after teaching at a middle school, then I came up and rescued you from from your job. And I always knew I needed to be a counselor, and so at that point I went back to school and got the counseling certificate, and was a high school counselor, and then went into the district office to be supervisor of the counselors in the district back at that time. And there was a point in time when I decided that, you know what, I'm facing retirement, and I don't want to retire in a cubicle. So I was fortunate to be able to go back and teach my last few years.
That's wonderful. So out of everything that you've done, all of your particular roles in education, what is your favorite?
My favorite is the last 10 years of being able to teach band, choir, and orchestra, I've always said it's been my busiest time, never busier, but it's also been the time that I've received the most satisfaction. And I truly believe that that is because I have a passion for both music and a passion for the students. Without those two, it would have been a job that would have just drained a person.
No,
So
I know.
when I retired, they replaced me with two different people.
I'm sure they probably have to replace you with 6 different people. I just know that from my experience and the countless students that I've taught, that you have always been one of their favorite teachers. And I talk with students even today that you were their teacher, and I've had conversations with them in the past how you were such an incredible influence in their life, and I think that has got to be one of the greatest rewards of teaching.
Well, so thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, it's meant sincerely. So what makes you a good teacher? After your experience all these years, what would you consider the things, a thing or things that make you a good teacher?
Well, I think is one of the things is what we try to instill within our students is that learning is a forever task. Someone once said that when you're through learning, you're through. And I think that's really true. It sounds like a trite statement, but if you don't continue to learn, there's nowhere for you to go. And so when people ask me what teaching was like back in the day, well, yes, I did start without computers. I did start without lots of things. You know, I had used typewriters to type up tests. And, you know, teaching has changed, but one thing that hasn't changed is the ability to relate to students. And if you don't have that ability, if you don't have that desire to teach and to make a difference in their lives, you need to look for a different profession, because there's something that is going to be more satisfying to you.
Agreed. It sounds like your bell just rang, and they're at Pineview Middle School. But tell me, so I think you've kind of mentioned this, but what is your favorite part then of being a teacher?
I like to see the kids learn, and there are those aha moments when they work so hard and all of a sudden the light turns on and they realize, for example, they can sing or they can play or they can actually do something, and they sound to themselves great. You know, parents sometimes lie to their kids and say, "Oh, you sounded great," when they didn't. But the kids know when they achieve. Again, being honest with ourselves. And that is just such a marvelous opportunity to sit back. It's not anything with me. It's their hard work that they have achieved. And that's why I love music, because my back is to the audience. It's not about me. It's about the kids that are facing the audience. I don't need to turn around, because what a concert is all about are the kids that are facing the audience. I hope that makes sense.
You know, it does. And you say that it's not about you, but like you said in the first question, that you have that ability to guide them toward that experience of where that light can go off, and that you are kind of a mentor guide as a teacher to help them discover what they did not know that they had in them. And I know how good you are at doing that. And it's even with all of your peers that you've taught with, you do that as well. You've given a lot of teachers aha moments from just being around you, and I just want you to know how much I appreciate that. So knowing now what you know, having taught all of these years and been in positions of leadership in district offices as district administrators, what would you, if you could go back and maybe just retool something or do it a little bit differently, based on all your experience, and I know you probably, since you've kind of shifted around a little bit to different positions, that you've probably taken things and changed them up, but what would you, just one thing that you would do differently today if you could start over from the beginning?
Well, if I could start at the beginning, I would have adopted a philosophy that I learned a while ago, that I adopted, and I ingrained it into my life. And that philosophy is this: you do not have to be the best in the world, but you have to be the best for your world. And there's a huge difference in that, because so many people compete and make the world a competition. And it's a competition between teachers, between this and that. And in reality, it's not that. It's being the best for who you serve, it's being the best for my students. And for being in music, I need to be the best for my community. So that involved taking those kids out to rest homes and to different places, and to see the joy that was on the faces of those people that we served. I can't describe it. That makes all the difference in the world. And the kids appreciated that too. They sang music and played music that, was 50, 60, 70 years old. It didn't matter, because what they saw on the faces of the people that they were singing and playing to was pure, utter joy. And so with that philosophy, they didn't have to be the best, but they had to be the best for what we were doing, and they were. And I think that's so important. I hope that philosophy makes sense, and I would have adopted it a lot earlier.
Awesome. Well, and I'm gonna put that along with this section of teacher feature for this chapter. Terry Moore, teacher feature. I'm gonna put that quote. That's remarkable. Well, Terry, I want to thank you for this opportunity, and it's very rare that I'm able to talk with somebody I admire so much and know that I've had a part in teaching all 5 of your children. And from the very earliest parts of my career until I believe it was, so your youngest is, it would have been what, 2005-ish.
5-ish. Yeah.
So from 1990, I believe, when your oldest, until 2005, I had that opportunity to teach all of your children. And it's been a remarkable one. Like I say, you played a huge part in my career, just as a colleague, and helping me out at a time that you wear all these hats as a teacher. And that was one hat that I just didn't have all the tools to be able to take on that many kids. And I remember something important, and I'll end with this, but you always told me it's one thing to try to manage a classroom full of students, but it's another thing to try to manage them when you've given them a noisemaker. And you try to manage a classroom that way. And teaching classroom management here at Utah Tech, I completely understand what you meant by that, because I've been in those situations, and it's hard enough managing without a noisemaker. Give them a noisemaker and it makes it twice as difficult, but you're a master at that. And thank you again for this opportunity to speak with you today, and to talk with you about your career.
Thank you, Dr. Bartholomew. Wish the best to your class.
Thank you.